So today we're going to make one of these. I'm just going to take the lace out, and it's a flippy foldy hidden journaling spot. They're really cool. So you've got the front that you can decorate up nicely. You've got the back that you can put a nice image on, or just plain journaling paper. When you open it up, you've got the side parts that you can journal on, and there's 8 panels here. If you fold it like a W, so I'll show you in the top view, if you fold it like a W and you open these middle sections, you've got another space that you can write on. And if you fold the 2 edges together and open this end, you've got another space that you can use. So I've put images in that one. So that's the end product. It looks pretty tricky, but it's pretty simple. I'll show you how it works. I've made just a little sample template just to sort of give you the idea. So you've got your front cover, you've got your back with your yellow circles on it, and you've got your 8 little different panels, and I've done it in the 2 colours so that you can clearly see. When you open it up, you've got your purple triangles and your 8 panels again. When you open from the middle, you've got your pink stars. And when you join the 2 ends together and you open here, you've got your blue squares. So it's a really nice way to make something fairly simply that's got a lot of hidden spots, and you can decorate them as much as you like. When you pull it apart, we'll make it more clear. It's basically just these 2 separate little pieces of paper, and you've got your piece of paper that you've cut slots into for them to slide into. So that's what you need. This part, if you fold this in half, these 2 are exactly the same size that you've just cut down. So that's all the construction is. And when you're putting them together, you just weave them through and weave the other one through the alternate way. It's as simple as that. They look really complicated, but grade 3 kids can make them in one session, so they're really good fun. So that's it. That's how simple it is. So that's what we're going to do today. So I've just got a couple of pieces of 160 gram weight paper, and I've printed them on both sides with the same image. So they're both the same, and I've just used the tea stain paper. And what I was trying to do is make one where you don't have to put so much cutting and pasting with imagery. So what I mean here is with this one, this was made on this, you can just see it in the seams here, just this plain brown cardstock. And so I've cut out 8 little squares for that part. I've cut this image into 8 little squares. I've cut the inside image into 8 little squares. And I've cut the other hidden image into 8 little squares. So to try and make it a little bit simpler, I thought I'd show you this. And what I've done a similar thing here, but I printed different front and back. So this is the same. It's, when you open it up on the inside, you really can't see at all. You can't see the slots at all, because I cut these 2 strips that go in the middle. I've cut the middle out of the piece of paper. So I centered it and cut that middle piece, these 2 bits off, so I've only got the middle. And I thought that would be an easy way to do that, but it only works on that one page, on that front page. When it turns over to the back, it works as well, but for the inside images, it didn't work. I've woven that through the wrong way, I have to. Sorry. So for the inside image, I get mixed, because I did different sides on the paper, and the same I think on the back image I get mixed prints. So The paper that I'm using is, I'll show you, I'll just grab it, it's just here. I just get this from Officeworks. It's HP colour choice, and you can see that it's 160 GSM, and it's just a nice thickness. It's not too thick for this activity. So as I said, I've run 2 sheets. You need 2 sheets the same if you're trying to achieve this look with the seamless interior. So I'll show you how to make it, and it might be good if you guys are following along. It might be good, like I've done with this trial one, it might be good just to do a scrappy one, just with a piece of printer paper and a spare bit, just to get the idea. And then if you draw symbols or colours or something, just so it makes sense to you, it might be a good idea just to make one like this. But sure, you can make one from your good papers as well if you like. So all you do is you take your one piece of paper, and you need to decide what height you want it to be in your journal. So for example, if I was using this journal, this paper would be too high. So I would need to, if I was using this journal, it would be too long. I would need to trim it down about 1/4 inch shorter. So you wanted to trim this top part off so that your height is going to match whatever you're doing with your journal. So I'm going to do it full size today, but that's your first step, is to trim it to the right height and trim it along this long edge. So once you've got your height done, all you need to do is fold your paper in half, and you need to be fairly exact here in measuring and cutting for it to work. So you just get your fold, crease it, and put a really nice crease in that. And again, if I was putting it in this journal, I'd trim the top down to get the height right, and then I would also, in this case, I would trim this so that it fit inside, it was the same size as my signatures. So I would probably measure it to fit on that page. And so I would just trim along the double open edge, this edge, I would trim that to make it fit. So basically you want a piece of paper folded in half that's going to fit where you want it to fit. So that's your first step. For me, I'm happy with this height, so I'm just going to leave it at that height. So the next thing you want to do is open it up to lay it flat, and then fold your edges into the middle, and I just leave the smallest of gaps, just so it's not quite hitting the middle. Again, make sure you're level, top and bottom, and crease that, and do that on the other side as well. So fold that in. Again, just leaving the tiniest of gaps. Get it level and give that a good crease. So that's your base, you can see. That's your base. If I open that out, that's your base. To get your 2 pieces that are going to slot into the middle is your next step. You need half of a piece of paper. So I'm going to need half of this. If you've cut yours down, you will need a piece of paper. If you fold it back in half, you will need exactly this size, however you've trimmed yours down. So for me, I'm not trimming anything. I just want half of this, so I'm just going to fold that again to find my halfway point. Mary asks what paper you're using. I think she means the digital print. Oh, the prints that I'm using throughout this are from Studio 19 Digitals, and the prints that I'll be using when we use the imagery are from the Steampunk Ephemera, or the Steampunk MEGA Kit. So it's Studio 19 Digitals. These ones are from the same place. These are the tea dyed paper, or the neutral papers that I'm using. So I've got my base, Now I need half of this. I want it to be a nice cut, so I'm going to use my paper trimmer and just cut along that folded line. So just get that, try and get that exact. Okay. And now, as you can see from the little template model, now I've got my 2 pieces of paper. I want them to also be cut in half straight down the middle, because that's how it's all going to get put together. So I want to cut that in half again. You can measure it if you like. I'm just going to fold it and cut along the fold line. Sometimes, especially if you're using an odd size, the measuring gets a bit tricky. This way I can see exactly where to cut it on this trimmer. It's got a little piece of wire down the middle, and you can be exact on the cutting. So I'm just going to trim that into my 2 pieces. Okay, now I've just cut slightly off, so hang on, I'll just trim that a bit. It won't matter in this instance if it's a slight bit smaller, because I'm not directly overhead, I can't see that well. So that's the 4 pieces that we need. We've got our base and we've got our 2 side pieces that are going to slide in. The next thing we need to do is we need to open it back up and fold it in half, and then turn it on your board so that you've got the 2 loose parts at the top. And for this I'll need my ruler and a blade, or you can just rule lines and cut it with scissors, whatever works for you. What we want to do is we want to find the halfway mark on this, and so for me I'm going to use my ruler. Hope it's all in screen. So I'm just going to measure my height, and my height is exactly 8 1/4. So I'm just going to get a pencil, and half of that I want to find the halfway mark. So half of 8 1/4 is 4 1/8, and I'm going to make a mark there. And then I want to find the halfway point as well here. So half of 4 1/8 is 2 1/16. Make a line there, and then I'm just moving that back up to the 4 because I want 2 1/16 here as well. 2 1/16. So I'll bring that up closer. Hope you can see. So I've just made a mark at the 1/4 way, halfway and 3/4 way. The other way that you could do that if it's too tricky is just to fold your paper in half and just make a little pinch at those points, and that's another way to do that. But I've made my marks, and now what we're going to do, I'll bring this sample back. What we're going to do is we're going to cut. We're only going to cut up to this first fold line here. So we're just going to cut, you can see there. And it's really important that you get these cuts level, because when you're opening and folding and flipping things, if they're not level, it's all going to rub and stick. So it's really important to get that level. And the way I do that is I'll place this little mark that I've made here on one of the lines on my mat. And if you're going to just cut with scissors, I line my ruler up exactly on the line, top and bottom. And if you're going to rule your line, you could just rule your line and then cut with scissors. That's one way. I just do the same thing, line my ruler up on the line, top and bottom. And then I'm just going to cut from that point with my blade and cut. And then I don't lift my ruler until I'm sure I've got it. So that part's cut. And then I just repeat that process again. I'm following this line, lining it up nicely on the board. Put my ruler on at the top and the bottom. And cut from the center line down to the bottom edge. and leave the ruler in place until I'm sure I've got it. And the last one, again, move my pencil mark to a line, line everything up and cut it top and bottom straight. That way I know all my lines are really clean, straight cuts. And that's that part done. So now I've got my sections done. Open it back up again, and now it's time to feed these pieces in. So all you need to do, the first one's really easy. You'll lift up the bottom layer, slot that in, go over the first section, lift up the third section and slot it under, and then pull it back in. So I hope you can see, I'll tip that up, you can see that. And then tuck that over to the side, and you do the opposite on the other one. So with this one, it started underneath. So with the top piece, this one's going to go in on the top. So I want this one, instead of it starting from underneath, I'm going under the second piece. Slot that through, feed it through, over that piece and under the next piece. Sometimes, if that's difficult to get that in, sometimes you need to just trim the slightest bit to get that to fit snugly. So if I show you from the top view, this is my base piece. One piece is flipping out that way and the other that way. So you can see they're just fed alternately through. And that's it. You've made your kit. And I just like to sort of give it another run over with the bone folder, and it's ready to decorate. Fold it in half and give that a press as well, and then you can see that you can open it up. That's your hidden section. Pull both the leaves and that disappears. Fold it in half with the two loose bits together, and that's another hidden section. So that's it. It's nice and simple, and you can decorate them any way you like. I'll show you again this one. So this one had a lace bow. I think it's in the picture for the group event when you can see this all done up. I've just put a couple of eyelets in and popped lace through to tie it closed, and I've just used a couple of the little tags on some text with some lace on it. On the inside of these ones, I just used some of the Steampunk Kit papers for the side panels. Now to decorate the inside, so I've done plain on this one, just a plain, like a tea-dyed one. On the inside one on this is the same, so you could journal on both of those spots. On the back image, on the back cover, there's a picture from the Steampunk Kit again, and here's another image. It's up to you whether you want to use images or whether you just want it all to be plain. It's completely up to you, and how you decorate it as well. So for this one, I'm just going to do a simple decoration. I've just grabbed a couple of tags from the kit, and I think they look nice on that. Maybe with some, I thought I've just got some old tea bag, which doesn't really do it for me. I might use some torn text under that to decorate the front. Just 1 second while I plug my phone in. Sorry. Sorry, I was trying to do this on another phone and it wasn't going to work. So let's see if it's happy with that. I've got a couple of different things you could use, and these images need to be the same size as the back here. So for example, this image would be the right size and the right height, so I could use either one of those. Thanks, Sally. Or I could use an image that goes sideways, so these ones would fit as well. So it's just a matter of personal choice, whatever you'd like. We'll try with one of the cats. and we'll see if we can make that work on this plain one here. I think the colours go really nicely there. So what you want to do is you want to get your image. If I take the measurements of the back of mine, so this is a full A4 sheet, and that measures 5 3/4 by 8 1/4. So I'd want to take 1/4 of an inch off that. So it would be 5 1/2 by 8 1/4, 5 1/2 by 8. I'd need the image. So let's just trim, we'll go with this one. Let's just trim it down to the image size that I've printed. And then I'll measure that. So I needed, just check again. So this is 5 7/8. So 5 5/8 or so I'd want this to be, which is about perfect. And then if I sit that on top, you can see that that's going to work. I do need to take a little bit off one edge, and I think I'll just take a little bit off the bottom. So I want about 1/4 of an inch or so, so we'll just start with that. It is a cute cat, isn't it? So I just want to take about 1/4 of an inch off. This time I got a new blade in my cutter. I want to take a little bit off so I can fit it nicely, and I might just take a little bit. So the top and bottom I've got about 1/4 of an inch, and the sides look okay. Now this is the tricky part. When you've got your image, when you're gluing your image on, and I'll show you again on this one, if I pull this slot out, it'll make it more obvious. So you can see that there's 4 separate images, and you can't have the images bigger than this square. They've got to be slightly smaller, because what will happen is if the image is, I'm just trying to figure out how to put that back in. If the image is any bigger than the square that it's sitting on, when you're trying to fold anything and flip it, it will glue it shut basically. So kids have made a mistake, for example, of taking a piece of paper and gluing the whole thing down and then nothing moves. So to make this work, you've got to make sure that each image is separate and is away from this edge. It can butt right up to it, that's fine. That's butting right up to it, if you can see. It butts right up to it. But it doesn't overlap and touch this next section. So it doesn't overlap, because if it does and it rubs against that, then it won't move. So to get it right, I've taken a piece of paper and I've made sure, I hope you can see that properly, I've made sure that there's 1/4 of an inch top and bottom and sides, and that should make this work. So now we want to slice our image into 8 panels, so it's going to fit on these 8 panels. And so here is where I'd like to try my ruler, and we'll see how we go with sizes. You can switch from inches to centimetres, whatever makes it easier. I'll get this out of the way for a minute. Okay, so mine at this moment is 14 centimetres. Okay, so we'll go with centimetres because that's exact. So I want to cut it, it's just slightly over. I want to cut it at 7 centimetres. So I'm just going to mark that top and bottom. And then cut that exactly on that line. You do need really neat cuts here, so you could also draw your lines on with a ruler and then just cut really carefully with scissors. That would be fine as well. So I've cut mine. I'm going to keep them the same and cut them together. So let's get our length measurement, and we want to cut this into 4. So we'll try with centimetres. Not quite. Let's see if inches works. Yes, so it's 8 inches exactly. That's helpful. So we'll go with the 4, 2, 4 and 6. For me, that's really helpful. If you've got really tricky measurements, just fold it in half and get a crease line, and then fold the half in and the half in to get your lines, and do it that way. You don't have to use measuring, whatever works for you. In this case, it's a helpful size. So I'm going to cut mine down, get them exactly lined up, top and bottom, and then I'm going to cut them together on those lines. I'm still holding it with my left hand. And again, try and make these as square as you can. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. Helps if you keep them in line. Now we flip them all over, and we should be able to make our picture up. So you want to get your picture in order. Don't ask me how I know this. So hopefully you can see that. And then decide where you want to put it. So I might put the pussycat on the back because it's going to be easy. And so now you want to pick up one piece at a time. So this piece is going to go into the top right corner. You want to get, the first thing you want to do is make absolutely certain that this is all level at the top and the bottom. So those inserts are really level. I'm just going to clip this side on there, and I'm going to put a paper clip down the bottom just to make sure that doesn't move while I'm gluing things. So for him, and I hope this is really clear on the camera, I want this image to fit on there. Like I said, it can butt up. It's helpful. If I fold it in half, you'll see. If I butt up, it's a bit hard with that colour, isn't it? I'll try and put my ruler on that line so you can see. So I want my picture, so there's no gaps in it, I want it to fit right up to the edge of that fold, basically like that, so that it's not overlapping the center and it's not overlapping onto the next piece. So that's where I'm going to position it. So to do that, you can use any glue you like. I'm just going to use glue stick today. Let me just grab a piece of paper. Let me know if there's any questions. I'm trying to explain it clearly. So I'm just going to glue it on. Glue stick's helpful because you can slide it for a second too. Again, so there's my loose piece of paper. I know it's in place, so I'm just going to lift that up and slide that on. And I want it to be right at the edge of that paper. And slide it down just that little bit. Okay, so that's your first part on. And you just continue putting things in order. When you pick up the second one, maybe if I put my bone folder under there, you'll be able to see clearly. When I put my second image on, before I glue it, I just check it. So I want it to stay in line with this image and center it on this panel here, and it's going to fit. If it didn't fit, before you glue it. If it doesn't fit, then you trim it just a tiny bit off to make it fit, but that's going to fit. As I said, you can put whatever you want onto these panels. You can cut up writing lined paper, you can use digital prints, you can use tea stained paper, whatever you like. In this case, because I've used some, so I'm trying to keep that lined up and this centered. I think that's pretty good. I'll take that out and make sure that's in. Because in this one I've printed it on this digital print, you don't need to cover certain sections of it if you want it to be for writing. So just continue. Again, before you glue it, check it. And again, I'll show you. I can't lift it, I have to put it through here for you to see. But again, I want to see if that's going to fit on this panel, and it will. Normally, if you have trimmed the 1/4 inch off your image, it should fit nicely. And if you are going to use glue stick, use one you trust, because you don't want one of those ones that lifts off after a short period of time. So just trying to line everything up. That one feels like it's going over, so I'm just going to slide that up a little bit. And I can lift just to make sure, that's not sticking. 1, 2, 3, and then the bottom image, again, check before you glue. Once it's glued down, it's if you have made it too large, it's throw it in the bin and start again kind of project. So again, I can get it up to that top lip. Here, I can lift it right up to that top lip, but not go over it. So that's my 4 images. And now I'll start from the bottom up. I'm just leaving that paper clip there. I have had, one of the problems kids often do is they move this insert and then glue something down, and then when they put it back it's all misaligned. So I'm leaving the paper clip there and working from the bottom up. And getting that top right corner in place first, and lining everything up, and again just making sure it's not going across that, and it's not. All good. My next image, I didn't check this, but I know the other one fits, so this side should work like a charm. And again, if you can see, that's all lovely. Again, get your image. So again, I'm trying to keep this edge lined up so that it's nice. You could use a ruler, I guess, that might be helpful. Nice and lined up. And last one. Last one, take the paper clip off, make sure it's lined up, and pop your images in. Okay. Right, so that's the image, comes together really nicely. To do your test, basically just see if everything opens. Check both ways, that everything opens nicely. Like I said, if there you can see the image is on the back there, if anything has been too big and overlaps, this won't work anymore. Sometimes if that's happened, sometimes you can lift up a panel and trim it very carefully to get it, but it's best to check before you glue anything. I'll show you again the finished product, because as I said, you can decorate it. I'm going to end up decorating this one with a couple of those tags, and I'll tear some paper and put that underneath. You can do any closure that you like. In this case, I've used eyelets and some lace, and then that just means you can tie that closed, as you see in the image for the live event. You can just tie that nicely and have it closed, especially if you put the lace through the right way from underneath, daffodil. So let me just do that so that you can see you can have a tie closure. You could use one of the little policy envelope closures as well. You could, so that's the finished one. You could also, if you wanted, you could, if it was sturdy enough, you could probably, before you do your image on the inside panel, let me grab something. Let's say you were going to put something on the inside panel, you could glue a bit of ribbon under that, just to have some ribbon coming out, so that then covered the ribbon. You could do it that way. Or you may not even want a closure at all. You could just tuck it into a pocket and then let the pocket close it for you. So you can do whatever you like with that. As I said, if you wanted just to be journaling space, you wouldn't have to cover those squares. But if you wanted to put something on top of that, then you've seen how to do the 8 images. Happy playing, happy creating. As I said, I'll show you one more time where all the pockets are. There's your front inside pocket when you open it. Flip it over and there's your back 8 panels. In this case it's our pussycat. Open it up and fold it into a W shape. And then there's your hidden inside image. And then pull that out, fold your 2 edges together, and then open this back part, and there's your other 8 panels. So plenty of hidden journaling spots, plenty of room to hide pictures or whatever you'd like to do, plenty of opportunities to decorate it in any way you like, and add closures, anything that works for you. I can't wait to see what you all do with it. Just thought I'd show you the finished product here. So on the front cover I've added the 2 tags, a little bit of paper behind it. I've made a couple of pockets just using one of the labels and one of the circular images on the front, so they just tuck in. I've made one of the ribbon closures that I spoke about just by gluing it onto the back of this and then tucking that over the front, and I've turned those into a pocket with a little tag in it. And the same on this side, there's a pocket with a tag. On the centre pages I've left it fairly plain. I have used the digitals to make that simple to write on. I've just added a couple of the vellum stickers, and then in the centre part I've left that completely plain for journaling. And in the back image I've got just another couple of stickers, the trains and the bicycles, all to do with the transport. And on the very back image I've used the pussycat image. So all of the imagery comes from studio19digitals.com, and there's a blog and a YouTube channel linked to that to help you use all of the digitals. I bought the Mega Kit with 112 pages. Good fun. So that's the finished product. Thanks for watching.